The inescapable shadow of a superior being enshrouds me. Indeed, I say it surrounds me. This darkness, it covers my life, and I fear that forever it might. I try to imagine a light, to achieve towards such a veil, but wrapped up in the shadow, and stuck in this darkness, all that I do here is fail. Such a void becomes suffocation, no true light, like no air to breathe. And to think there's a brightness in some place else, which the monster by nature keeps all to itself, gives me all the more reason to grieve. This superior being exists, I know it, but it is above and beyond my sights. Though it gives me a faint idea of itself, and from this do I know that there's so much more light to be had instead of this darkness, dabbling here on the floor. I want more. I need to get beyond the shadow, but I'm not quite sure which way to go. Am I doomed to this dreary existence? The monster would have it just so. And these thoughts, they devour me now. They threaten to fade me away, because that beckoning light from beyond my grasp is killing me every day. What beauty lies beyond the shadow, and what happiness outside of the dark? To spend my days dreaming of something like that just tears me apart. Should I dare to challenge this monster above? And then, where to do I so embark? And even now this monster consumes me, for I am writing and speaking only for it. This is nothing that I want to do, but compelling these forces insist. You see, there's ideas within me. Exploding, they tear through my head. These ideas, these thoughts, and the meanings they hold, they threaten to lead me to death. All that I am is what I know, and what I know is this life in shadow. I'm sifting through darkness for anything more, and my history's bound in this battle. Time trickles over me now like that water which seeps out of cracks in caves, only to find itself lost in a world forgotten by anything water can change. This is a world filled with darkness, and it slowly sinks into itself. And once the process is fully complete, the water will freeze, and time won't tell whether or not there's movement, or even if ever there was. At moments like this, contemplating as such, I'm nearly at peace, without hatred or love. Then why should I seek the light beyond, when the darkness is all that I've had? In shadow I've lived forever. Maybe this is quite simply all that I am. Perhaps this is my way towards progress, not to light but to darkness and death. I will not question the greatness beyond, but just be content with all that I am. A shadow's been planned to serve me until I am no more, and so no more will I dream of a light that my torture it seeks to restore. Though still I remain, and I can speak, and still I am sane. My purpose beyond what is vain, I am here simply to explain to all of you who surround me, to my brothers and sisters confound me. They do not rise up like the signals of smoke that arise in my thoughts from which this is provoked, to calm their burning desire to know why I do not perspire in ways much like the way that they do when they toil within this world without hue. As such is my cue to begin. I tell tales without fear of glory or sin, but I simply must do what I must to spare myself of the pain and the fuss that goes hand in hand with the torment in life that I live in this place that is shadowed from light. Thus, I'll tell you a story, and together we'll endure the pain that its creation creates through existence in a world where darkness remains. I will succeed, or I will fail, to properly so deliver a tale through which I sincerely hope at best can deliver you towards some sort of rest. More importantly, I hope that you'll listen, for once, to all of this wisdom. For if you should hear its beginning, then part and go off to something else, only to start back at what you were doing before, and then come back to me and implore that I explain to you my causation for the effect that I have on your state of the nation, then I'll have to start this all over again. Thus, let's not postpone it. And let me begin with a classic component, a figure of speech that's so true to ourselves that it should be so nice for you to hear, my dear. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a man named Jones. He was a student, though not of the sort that required partaking in roles. He'd paid no tuition, was given no tasks, and was free to learn as he chose. What's this about? I'm sensing some doubt in the reader for what I've proposed. You fickle-minded sorts who doubt in my words, rest ye assured that I'll settle the score. What's more, you will learn, and more so in turn you shall know we are all like Jones, behind doors. Doors that we open, or doors that we close, and doors that we wish we'd have never have chose. Alas, time to open a door, to explain just what students are for. For freedom, you'll see them all up and about, though they're tied to their studies, no other way out. Well, there is, just wait and see. Students aren't free, you may say to me, because they're forced to learn as they're taught. But Jones is a student, and also very much free, and I shall assure you of that. If you think that without institution no person can claim to be such, as a student is someone who studies in ways that are given from some higher up, let me assure you Jones was still learning, and in essence that's what student means. Though to be true and perhaps more so correct, it follows much as it would seem. Yes, a student must be part of something, then indeed Jones was just as such. Jones was part of what we call life, and as so he's a student, quite much. Along on our way we continue, and open doors perhaps we will do. A door into times brought up from the past to show you a story so different from that which we know. Darkness, shadow. As a way to make money for funding his dreams, Jones worked with wood and simple machines. A carpenter he was, doing things that a carpenter does. He was highly skilled, highly sought for his work, inclined towards detail, opposed to mass retail, and his works of exceptional quality. He abstained from the modern-day folly. The pieces bore markings, the call of a man who refused to partake in the fall from a plan set out by a loving Creator, whereby creation is sacrificed for profit so small in comparison to something made better than all. At the end of a thing's creation, 'twas known that his pieces were made true. The works became known as unique, each piece with a oneness, divinity hue. For the wood was used with care, and the items crafted with precision, and nothing at all was done unless Jones had discerned such a caring decision. Yes, it is hard to see, and such things do not breathe, but in ways that they be, trust me, they are more than dead things. Their lives are beyond what our life can bring, though in ways I shall sing you the tale of what Jones has given. Indeed, Jones's work was at times his life. As a student, that would seem quite right. That if life is a thing given from higher up, as creator Jones added to plans from above. Thus who can deny what is set from Jones's hands to be all but alive, created by man for the greatest of plans? Oh, indeed, so beyond what we see. He'd spend hours, days in the shop. Sunsets would fall and sunrise would come, and still Jones would work round the clock. So there it is, a picture of Jones, hard at work with the wood. Remember, however, from whence this began, because doing this isn't all that Jones could. This was a way to make money, just a stepping stone for the man. For once he'd be finished with this phase, Jones would then start a new plan. On we go into the future as we follow the footsteps of Jones. After a few years of woodwork and crafting, Jones laid down his tools. As dust began to settle around him on tables and desks, shelving and stools, he pondered over a beer, Sleeman, golden brew with flavors of honey brown, whatever that even means. Because if anyone ever wondered about it, honey's not brown, more yellow it seems. Alas, what does it matter? As beer it speaks well and tastes good. Somewhere halfway through the first bottle, Jones lifted himself up and felt just as he should. He'd made a small fortune, and he'd set himself up. He was moving quite well on his path. What path, you may ask? Well, this only Jones would ever know. Knowing is something we all seek to do, but until it's been done, only Jones knows such truth. Jones smiled as he gazed on a thing, just a thing that he'd made of dead tree. Though he loved the things he created, what more could they really be, thought he. In this case it was a bed frame, a beautiful one made of oak. It was made to be shipped into Europe, and to fetch a good price, he hoped. For now it had not a mattress, just the frame and the sturdy headboard. The edges were carved into mystical swirls, which he'd spent much time shaping like the forming of pearls. Beautiful things can't be rushed. There is something special in this, yes, something special indeed. This he pondered while walking around it, inspecting its edges and seams. The glue was hidden well, the stain set in without error. All that was left was to ship the thing off to a buyer with money to spare. Wait! What's this? Jones's jaw dropped as he saw something to his surprise. Part of the headboard was cracked, and he nearly shot laser beams out of his eyes as he looked upon it in dismay. Stepping inside of the bed frame, Jones approached the cracked piece. His stomach started to turn, and he had to get down on one knee. He placed his left hand above it so that he could lean in to inspect. Then something happened, and even Jones didn't foresee the occurrence which would then happen next. As if pulled into a wormhole, a fully grown man disappeared, and found himself falling through darkness, lit up on occasion by glowing bright spheres. Inside them, Jones sees things he vaguely remembers, like he knows that he's seen these before. Like watching a movie of moments gone by, though these things had effects far more. Then, all of a sudden, not knowing when, where, or how, Jones has an instance of black. Then he wakes up, face down on the floor. The last thing he remembers? The crack. Burp! Jones lets out another, as he rises up onto his feet. His knees are shaking, his hands are sweaty, slight headache, and he cannot believe what he sees. Horrified to be in a dungeon, or some cellar, wet, damp, and earthy. Everything's made out of rock. There's no wood. Oh God, have mercy. For a moment, he nearly would speak. Then he stops, and he wouldn't make a peep. Standing there thinking, scared to his wits, his attention shifts now to a torch that is lit. 'Tis the only reason that Jones can see. And oh, Jones thinks of what all this can mean. For one, he feels some slight comfort, because torches mean people are near. Then his mind shifts to what had just happened. Was he drunk? It can't be, for he'd had just one beer. Strange things happen in moments like this, and Jones briefly wished for another. Beer, that is, for the fear that lives, desiring aid for feelings that shudder. For a man like Jones, who's always composed, has thoughts that hide in his mind, and he picks and chooses which ones that he uses, thus leaving some of them behind. The subconscious thoughts that spark within Jones at moments like this, where he is alone and cold and scared and so unprepared, succumbing to fear, reminded of beer, a thing which he's learnt brings him comfort and cheer. But he keeps it together and pushes to endeavor, and so disappears Jones's inkling for beers. Then it happens. Things get to cracking. Click-clock comes a sound down the hall. It's someone descending a staircase, the sounding of footsteps that echo off walls. Not really sure what to do, and alone in this terrible room, Jones grabs the torch from its place on the wall, and he holds it before him, ready for war. His heart rate is higher than ever, and his body's hard like hard wood. Maybe this person is friendly. Maybe they'll be someone good. Then figures dance in shadows on walls only meters away. Then something comes out of the darkness. Then darkness comes fully, as in end of day. Where are you now that he's knocked out again in a moment that chills to the bone? You're safe in the fictional world of your room, perhaps, or your home. But then again, what about Jones? Blackness has now come again, just like all that talk about shadows. How can you continue to read through this story that's just like being sent to the gallows? Well, think about this. Our protagonist, Jones, is in peril. Keep reading onward and listening to me for Jones. Then, at least, he won't suffer alone. We're by his side, aiding with each breath and sigh. You know that he shouldn't be living like this, suffering blows to his consciousness that bring him closer to death, yet he always wakes up and draws breath. Get up, O Jones. Do not depart, but wake from the dark. You have to continue, O Jones. Something is moving inside of a chest. It's tough, and it is strong, just like wood, but it's flesh. This is the heartbeat of Jones, that returns him to life like a king to his throne. He says as he opens his eyes. This time his head is throbbing. It's Jones. He's woken up from the dark. Where is he? Not sure, but to start, there's someone in front of his face. It takes a second to realize this, and then things change pace. Ah! Jones lets out a scream. and just then the face disappears. "What the fuck is this?" he yells out again. Now this is Jones in fear. It is fear that's coupled with panic, and an ancient urge to fight. Jones throws himself forwards, not very far. Steel bars meet his hands. At least he can stand. He's trapped inside of a cell. Terrible thoughts grow inside him and dwell. He keeps on screaming for something. He's really just screaming for nothing. There's no way out for the moment. He'll scream at his captors who'll make him atone it. He hears the start of somebody's voice, but he kills it with screams which aren't his quite by choice. When forced into positions like what we have here, a man falls to subconscious actions, more like reactions, which are far more primal than cravings for beer. Screaming and pounding his feet on the ground, gripping the steel bars like he'd tear them down, he's trapped like an animal, filled with rage. Jones has been doomed to rot in this cage. "Silence!" yells a voice from without, in tones that raise feelings that begin to raise doubt, in the carnage that tears at Jones's emotion, and the voice steals his power like magical potions. "You think you can overcome me?" the voice continues to say. "I am the one that you dream of at night, the one that steals the light of day." Jones releases his hands from the bars, and the voice continues. "I am the one who makes you sweat because you know of my power, and I feast on your courage until you're bereft of its meager components, you coward." Jones backed up at the sound of the voice that dug into his heart and his soul. A feeling of terror came over his self, and he trembled, fell down, and began to go cold. Once more the voice entered his life like a spear in his side, and he knows he will die. "Your life is now belonging to me. I shall keep you here forever. This is your outcome, fool. Now you see what has come from your selfish endeavors." 1, 2, possibly 3. The hours go by as Jones cries and does plea. Curled up in the fetal position on the floor, Jones prays for help, but there's none in store. Oh, how his fate has been sealed. How can this happen? How can this be real? In his life there'd been nothing like this ever before, but now on a cold, damp, and earthy stone floor he sobbed at the thought of such awful demise, while strange and foreign sights he wished away by keeping closed his eyes. The smell of salt and seaweed did seep sickly into his nostrils. Thoughts which would be best suppressed rang more and more inside his throbbing head. Perhaps it is the sea he smells, and Jones knows of such a thing quite well, but that means nothing to him now. For there is no worse thing than something like this. To be thrown over the edge into an abyss will drag the bravest of hearts straight down to the depths of a bottom that's yet to be found. Down and away goes the hope for his dreams. Blackness so he cannot scream, sucking away the will to live. Memories come now of times when he did. Faint glow there, for as such one can't be bright, though still he keeps a thought alive, held tight. He's thinking of his sister. He's thinking about his dad. He nearly cries for his mother, and so many others which he had in the life that's so far away now. Where is he? Here. "Wake up!" he jeers at the thought of his position. "Wake up!" Jones begins to cheer. To have remembered this omission. "Wake up!" He rises on his knee, then stands, then fills his lungs with air. Despair is fleeting from his brow. He tightens up. He's glowing now. "I want to wake up!" Jones screams out loud and rushes at the bars before him. Grabbing them tight once more, he dares to rage at his captivity. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he lashes out instinctively, and nothing matters but his rage for being trapped inside a cage that threatens him and all he loves. And so he screams once more and tugs upon the steel that once was cold. Now he's something more than bold, something more than we can know. Here is Jones, and all himself is trying to escape a seeming hell. The ups and downs preceding this were normal things that won't be missed, but came and went like black and white, hot and cold, day and night, sadness to anger, wishes to dread, dreams gone dead and tortured with despair. This man, Jones, all alone and overcome with fear, fear caused mostly by his captor, the only one he's seen here, some sense to make for being here. The air of a powerful beast, with uncanny human resemblance, a glimpse of sharp white teeth and wolverinish semblance. Hair surrounds the face, styled and shaped with natural haste, dark and wild, and fearsome too, and growing out like flames will do. Eyes that say, "I see you," and a mouth that boasts, "I'm in control." All in all, this face was terrifying to behold. Menacing, no doubt a foe, some wicked being that came at Jones. What can all of this mean? No matter, for Jones simply screams, "Wake up!" again and again. Then that thing appears again. Again it comes up close. Again this thing is hard to sense, like looking for a ghost. Hard to know what's there, hard to think and stare. Like a shadow over everything that Jones is, the fade to black may come again. Jones digs deep like bravest men and continues at his task. Wake up, again and again he must accomplish, must outlast. Bars between them, then hands on his, then fearsome face inside his mind, then power rising like the tide, like waves on shores that crash and slide on crumbled bits of sea creatures turned into sand, this demon versus man. Silence. At the very end, the pinnacle of this, there must be silence. There is no more power, no more black, no more white, but the beautiful brown of polished wood, worked by Jones into crafted goods. With his hand upon the baseboard and kneeling inside the frame, Jones is back inside the woodshop, and he feels as if he's gone insane. A mess of raw emotion, churning in his stomach and chest. Thoughts that tangle deep in his mind now disappear. He can only guess what happened. He blinks once, blinks twice. In some confusion he looks at his hand. There's 5 fingers and a perfectly made headboard for a bed frame. His hand returns to him. There is nothing wrong, nothing to worry about, but the faint memory of something which he is quickly forgetting. Wow, Jones thinks to himself, that was a very, very special bottle of Sleeman Honey Brown Lager.